this. He's at a ball game.
I'll share though. Angie?
Hannah will have some. I knew Hannah did some. You're welcome. Oh, Hannah, don't waste it. That's why you don't have food in here.
She's good.
No, that was good.
It's only been stated. Less than a month. Less than a month.
You got Wayne gets 7 minutes. That's it. 7. I want to make the first quarter.
Ray can have as much time as he wants.
First quarter. That's what I want to make.
I did. Missed you last night.
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah, I
We'll be here all night.
pretty short straw.
I'm just saying.
Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, the
You're the dog.
my rope.
My kid's hobbling around on one leg.
Is he?
Over his all over.
What I like to hear is good.
Shaver, he goes see him
That's what I like to hear.
He got something going on with his calf.
Oh, really?
Texas coach and said, don't put him out there, it looks like.
Oh, those are for you? Yeah. Oh, I thought it was for your
Looks
like,
Yeah.
Compared to what he looked like a couple weeks ago, looks like a totally different player. You're killing your team.
Yeah, Kennedy couldn't miss last night. They were sure he's like,
If you're gonna be able to do this, they're gonna
Very well. So instead of guarding his man, or being like somewhere in between.
if you've got your own team, let me know.
But it doesn't
And
move.
maybe decide to play minutes if you're not come down.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
And his assistant coach is like, as long as he doesn't close out, he knows he's gonna get blown back. Reset.
well, I guess I wasn't paying that close attention. I didn't. They just got beat. Worked over there. I just don't, they couldn't manage the pass for it.
Yeah, you're right. So I'm trying to avoid that, so I'm not, because otherwise my organization gets,
Yeah, that's.
because I'm crossing out, I'm crossing out. That happens to me.
Oh, I got you. How was he doing? To see you. I'll struggle through, I guess. Got my cheating glasses. I can't see for shit.
You need to,
Yeah, I just go the other way. That's what I get for having a conversation.
Hello, EJ. It's good to see you.
Wes, you can bring popcorn for everybody.
I did. This is yours. See, I just did the top. The rest is for you. All my kids are in the concession stand. I can call them and have them bring us stuff. They'll happily do it. They think it'd be great.
Hey, DJ?
See TJ?
How you doing, sir?
I would like to call the regularly scheduled meeting of the East Dubuque Board of Education to order. It is 5 p.m. on January 18th. Roll call, please.
Quinn. Foot.
Here.
Chris Small. Winders.
Here.
Luppelholtz.
Here.
Dahlberg.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Please rise for the pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Any discussion on it?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Been moved by Dave,
Second.
seconded by Dave to approve the consent agenda as stated on the agenda tonight. Roll call, please.
Buckleholz,
Aye.
Dahlberg,
Aye.
Foot,
Aye.
Cent,
Aye.
Winters.
Aye.
All right, moving on to recognition of visitors and correspondence. Student council representatives. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it really, really quick tonight, just because I got some problems with my eyes and whatever. Anyways, so just an update of a little things that happened in the last month. We had like Christmas break and everything, so we had a Christmas assembly on our way out for Christmas break, and we had a bunch of different activities and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. Something that we do every single year. We're starting up some Valentine's Day activities. It used to be a thing that happened a lot, but so everyone fills out like a form, and it's like a matchmaker, and it'll match you with like people that you could be compatible with, but it also does like some of your best friends, some people that you'd be like least compatible with, and it does like a random 3 people or something. So everyone filled out that form that wanted to, and then we're gonna sell off the results for that, and you know, everyone kind of gets to see that. That's something that we kind of started up after a while. So I'm kind of excited for that. That's gonna be fun. We're working with Mr. Hire on some junior high activities in a couple months or so, just to fundraise a little bit. I was talking to my vice president today, and she said she agreed with me. Mr. Sirianni might be talking about this, but we just wanted to, as student council, wanted to like recognize Jeremiah Haven and Will Quinn for being at the honor band this Friday, and then Will Quinn's also going to be at All-State next Thursday, Friday, Saturday or so, which is going to be really nice. And the really, really big thing on that is that it's his second time, and I believe that's the second time ever from our school that people have gone to All-State twice in a row. And if he could, I'm sure he would have gone sophomore year too, but they just opened that up to become a thing. So I'm very excited for him, which is going to be really nice for both of them. But that's all from me. I'll just be watching tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to Star 360 presentation.
Good evening. So Julie and I and Wayne have got together. We decided to talk about our Star 360 scores and what Star 360 is, how it's used in our building. So Star 360, for us in junior high, well, for everybody, it's a computer adaptive assessment that is used for a number of things in our building. We use it for RTI services, response to intervention. We use it to make sure that our students are on track. They are on the road to meeting our state benchmarks. It's a specific question test where the question, and I learned this doing my research, I did not know this for the number of years that we've been servicing this or using this, but a specific question will not be repeated for a specific student within a 120-day period. So you can take this test literally every day to determine growth or lack of growth. In junior high, we use it about 4 times a year. For the general students, we could use it every day if we wanted for students with special needs or RTI services. We use it a lot, well, Julie and I use it a lot in junior high when we're determining students who are not meeting expectations, grade level expectations. But the math test in general takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete. A reading test could take a little bit longer because you are doing a lot more reading with that. But we like it because it's quick. We get results as soon as students are done. So students get in, they put in the password, or I'm sorry, we put in a password for them. They take the test, we get results right away. We get a color-coded result, which will tell them, or tell if students are in the red, which is below grade mark, getting closer to grade mark. In the green is the goal, that's meeting grade level expectations. And then we share that with students. As soon as they're done taking the scores, we show them their growth so that they have buy-in to this as well and can put forth effort to doing their best.
Yep, and so we mainly focus on the reading and the math, and the reading or the ELA there are 7 areas that are kind of tested with the students, and those are word knowledge and skills, comprehension strategies, constructing meaning, analyzing text, understanding the author's craft, analyzing argument, and evaluating text. So that might be short passages they're reading. It may just be sentences that they're pulling words from. There's 35 questions on both the reading and the math tests, and each time, like John said, that they take them, there's new questions that are being developed. And it tailors to what, if they answer the question incorrectly, it will kind of lower their level of the questioning they're getting, and if they continue to get questions right, it'll increase it, and that's where that score is compiled. The math measures 6 different areas, and those are numbers, operations, algebra, geometry, measurement, and then data analysis and probability. And that's actually in 7th and 8th grade, at least I can say, the main focus areas of our whole curriculum and standards focused around those 2. So, anything else that, I think Wayne's gonna share some data based on some recent tests that we had taken, so.
If you look at the data for grades 7 and 8, we did something a little bit different this fall. We've tested twice already this academic year. We tested in September and then again in November. We'll roll it back out to them on February 6th and 7th, and I believe we have a couple of dates scheduled for April. The different approach with the 7th and 8th graders this year found us meeting with them and explaining to them the importance of doing the best so that whenever they're put to the test, they can do that performing and perform at a high level. The junior high kids raised their scores in the 30% range. Over on the right, the 7th grade math, their increase, percent of increase was 33. In the 7th grade reading, it was a 30%. 8th grade, 59% change of growth, as well as 58 in the 8th grade reading. So they just had a spectacular November. And I just want to thank these women. They've been so helpful to me this year. Being the instructional coach this year, I was given the responsibility of rolling out 360 again, and they've been very helpful in helping me find my way through it. So, and really proud of the work that you've done and the work that our 8th, 7th, and 8th graders have done. So as not to come to work without something to do, our high school story is a little different. And so, you know, the meeting with the 7th and 8th graders and encourage them to do the best, obviously we have no hard data to say that what we tried was the factor, but it was the only factor that changed. So for the time being, we want to take credit for that and thank you for doing that. We're going to roll that out to the high school kids now. They have not taken STAR 360 for a couple of years as a result of COVID. And so we need to go back to them and say, you know, as a school, as a team, as a group of people, this is us. I've always said that when TJ started putting on our letterhead, we are East Dubuque. I could wrap my head around that. This is a great place for that. These kids need to be able to identify with that and be proud of who they are. Now we need to take that pride and apply it to days when we have opportunities to really demonstrate our skills. 9th grade, every grade in high school, or 9, 10, and 11, they take STAR 360. Seniors do not. We had one area of growth in high school, and that was in 10th grade math. So we do have work to do, and that's the good news. We'll go at it and see what we can do. We will encourage them to be their best. And I'm hopeful that we will be able to show growth at the high school level as well. It'd be wonderful if it was as high as the junior high kids grew. But we'll do that again in February. So, and if you have any questions, I want to thank Darren. We had an opportunity to meet with the staff earlier in the academic year and explain STAR 360. And I've seen an increase of interest amongst the staff to get these numbers out and go over them with students. So that's encouraging, that they'll use the data. But if you have some questions, please.
Okay, Wayne, so the 33% the growth in junior high, you're talking from September to November, correct?
Correct.
Now, did you compare these numbers with the previous Star 360 before the pandemic to see how much they lost in that downtime?
We have history, every time they take it, that's still in the history. We have not done that research on it from previous, but we've taken a look at these two opportunities, September and November.
And junior high continued to take it minus, like when we were out of school that March through May, but when we came back that fall, even though we were still, you know, wearing the masks and everything, we
And I'm
continued to
asking
take them.
because before the pandemic, I know
Mhm.
we were having problems with the grade school kids.
Mhm.
And I'm assuming we're gonna get those numbers sometime, Wes,
Star ones?
the Star 360.
I certainly can, yeah. I can bust out a lot of that stuff if you guys would like a review of it, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, we can definitely go back from pre to after and see what's happened.
What's the mechanism, or I guess, what's the process if you, are you taking the information, you understand, all right, this specific grade, this specific subject, what's the process from your team to, I guess, the administration team to like ultimately make a decision on how that goes forward?
Yeah, I guess, if I can jump in for a second, I know how we utilize it, so, you know, it's like everything, you know, we talked when we had the IAR stuff back, you know, and we kind of looked at that, and that's one microcosm of kids' academic skills. The upside of this is, we only utilize it 3 times a year as an elementary school. I think you guys do it 4 times. And there's some kids that we do more than that. Because it's really having dialogue with parents and saying, hey, this is how your kiddo's doing. We have that piece as a measurement. We have some ongoing progress monitoring for kids who we identify have specific learning needs or need additional assistance in whatever capacity that is. And then as I've talked about before and shown you guys before, we have our kindergarten through 3rd grade text level. So you're taking all these pieces together. And you're looking for correlation to make sure they're making the right kind of growth and the right kind of trajectory consistently. And when they aren't, that's the problem. That's when you know, that's when the spotlight goes on and we say to them, so what are we doing? What are we doing to help that kid meet those needs and what does that look like? That's really how we're utilizing it.
Individualized, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Way
we-
more individualized and transparency with parents. Like we want, like kids always, especially the elementary school, more successful when parents are keenly aware if their kids are not where they should be in whatever capacity. Because then there's an ongoing conversation about what can they do, what are we doing, what does that look like together? Yeah, good
And we are
question.
able to go back, like if we have students we pull in for RTI or response to intervention, we will look at their scores and if they've dropped for us, we'll go back to the history and like what have they done the last 2 to 3 years and see if we notice any trends and maybe they just had a bad test and they need to test again, you know, next week and try again. Or if we see consistent trends, you know, in their measurement area because you can specifically pinpoint where they're lacking, then that's what we work on when we pull them for RTI.
And the nice thing about the Star 360 is you can do a group data, and it will tell you where a majority of your students fall. And if you recognize that a number of students are struggling with geometry, grab a few mini lessons, plug them into your Friday afternoons or your, you know, Monday morning sessions when you have 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, which is nice. I mean, not everything has to be a full-blown textbook lesson, homework,
Right.
you know, the whole 9 yards. And that's what we like about this. You can either individualize it, or you can make it a whole group. So,
Couple quick questions. First one is thank you for all of this information. That's wonderful information. I'm glad that there are mechanisms in place to capture this and quantify it and then deliver it to everybody as well. That's fantastic. In the percentages of increases, as well as the percentages of decreases, did you find any information or patterns as far as where the percentages of increases came from in the blocks of students? For instance, like for the percentages of increases, were they mostly from the students which were high performers, average, or underperformers? Were there any correlations you could find from that?
I think as I was putting the numbers together, there was just growth almost by the entire group. There were not
the board.
a lot of,
Right.
I would maybe have 18 out of a group of 70 that maybe decreased, but mostly increased. I think it came with the buy-in. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves, these are adolescents, And just because we give them this opportunity, they don't necessarily need to see it, they're not seeing it as an opportunity.
Sure.
And we have to teach them that it's important to buy into this, not only for today and their academic learning, but their adult life when they are, you know,
Well, that's great.
going to work.
I was hoping for that response, because then I absolutely agree with you, then if it's across, baseline, across everything, then that's fantastic. I really think that does speak to the program, so.
And I think there's, if we look at this, if we look at their learning, we could see performance results in other areas of their life, whether it's Friday night or Tuesday night on the volleyball court. So,
I
we
agree.
kinda hit it with that approach.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I may, I really see how it aligns for junior high, because it's a more structured environment. You have consistency amongst your teachers within that. I guess when it comes to the high school level, how is that communicated from teacher to teacher when, they may have this teacher this semester, this teacher this next semester and stuff like that? How do we help continue
That
to
is
get
the
that
$1,000,000
growth?
question, Glenn.
Okay.
Small high schools have struggled with RTI processes since the inception of that idea. This has been a huge benefit, though, having Wayne and being able to tap into Dawn and Julie's, background and knowledge of this. And the sharing of that information with the staff has created a lot more staff awareness. So certain staff have come forward and said, well, this helps explain a lot. I've seen this student or this group of students struggling with, and it might not even be a math or an English class, it might be something entirely different, and now they have an idea of why those students are struggling with their class, and so then they can go back and ask for more data and take a look at, okay, where is this student really having issues? To put a high school RTI program in place, though, it's almost impossible, just because there is no one period of the day where you could have every single kid and really focus on those kids. It just isn't practical.
All of our staff have access to all of the data anytime. There's multiple reports, and some teachers wanted a report that's more diagnostic. And so that person can use it that way, while others are looking at numbers, encouraging kids, informing them how they did. So, there's more use of the data. Are we satisfied? That's not going to happen, and we'll keep working with them to give them the opportunity to go back out to the data. I took I did not give you percentile scores. For the life of me, I can't figure out why 360 does this. But we're kind of accustomed to percentiles and dealing with that data, but these percentiles are different and they're terribly confusing. So I put grade equivalents there for us, and you can see the decrease from grade 9 in reading. It was from a 7.2 grade to a 6.1. That's what we're going to focus on, and so that we turn the corner, or at least make an effort to improve our performance. But the percentile scores are not there because they're different than what we are accustomed to.
And I think, to your point, understanding the correlations, or when teachers are kind of seeing a correlation of, oh, okay, maybe this is where I can focus. I think that's great to hear that there's that opportunity from this data.
And that's one thing that we do a lot in junior high, is we talk to our students about this. You're taking the STAR 360, this helps determine your classes for high school, RTI processes, things like that. Where when they get into the high school, I don't know, we have so many high school teachers. We have very few in junior high. I don't know if the teachers are having those conversations with the students. We talk to them, but once they leave junior high, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. How much effort are we putting forth? And
Yeah, and it's bound to be more difficult at the high school level.
Yeah.
Like, there's just, even the elementary kids, not all, but there's outliers that, this is an online test. It's click, 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 click through. And you guys talked about at the beginning, you're looking for a specific timeline of how long it takes them to take it, usually 20 to 30 minutes or whatever. You see a kid come back with 8 minutes, you'll think,
Wes, you're retaking that test with
that's
me tomorrow.
exactly. And
Yep.
that's gonna skew, obviously, the results and those things that happen. So that's just part of the process. And the high school, there's just, I don't know, They don't
It's
see the
time.
value the same way as you would an elementary kid or certainly a junior high kid.
And it takes a lot of time to go through the results, and Julie and I spend, every time we take these tests, it's 2 to 3 days of meeting and then deciding which students qualify, which students need, which students will be putting forth the effort if they are working with one of us. And so it's time. And unfortunately, our high school staff is busy. They don't all meet at the same time, so.
I mean, to me, that's leadership. I mean, right, that's what we're talking about, ultimately is communication and training those teachers up to have those types of conversations and make sure this kid can execute it. Is that fair to say?
And I've approached them in lieu of our next round of tests, and that, you know, if they want to deal in encouraging the kids and working with them, or an outsider can come in. So they have that option, but I think we've got a pretty good buy-in on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much,
much.
appreciate that. Let's see these numbers.
Right.
Roll right back to you.
All right, so any other visitors that would like to address the board? All right, moving on to staff reports. Mr. Hart.
Mine is pretty brief. So the first one just talks about, we did a accelerated reader celebration. So we're attempting at the elementary school to make reading cool again. And so in an effort to do that, our librarian Suzanne Ward and Sandy Lecterhan and Pam Oney have done a great job of just helping to identify, actually using some of the star data as well. So, some of the kids who, at each grade level, at each specific class, who really have went above and beyond in terms of their reading goals and learning targets. And so, anyway, we just whirled out all the hoopla, the fancy donuts, the works, some games, all that kind of stuff. Took us a whole 30 minutes, but to the kids it was a monster deal, and they absolutely loved it. So we're gonna be celebrating kids every quarter. Might be some of the same kids, probably be a lot of different ones, just because different kids will hit those benchmarks at different points. So it was great. It's a great way to do it. There's the Wall of Fame up at the elementary school with the kids' picture holding their book, and so it's a big deal to them. They're going by, and so anyway, it's created a good vibe for those kids in those classes, and so you make it important, it becomes important. So we're going to really continue that process for us at the elementary. Similar to what Liam talked about, the day before Christmas break, the elementary school always does the big staff band and choir performance and rendition of the 12 Days of Christmas, Miss Flynn's old version, and which does need to be updated, by the way, and just sing along and whatnot. Anyway, always a great time. Kids do a great job at that, and I think everybody enjoys that kind of leading into Christmas break. And then the last one, just some new faces at the elementary school. We have a new student teacher who just started this week, Courtney Young, from Clark, and she's been working with Ms. Doyle in 3rd grade and Ms. Diem, our special ed teachers, our artistic teacher, and then also Kelsey Weatherford from St. Ambrose, working with Mrs. Miller in OT, and also our school social worker. So it's been good in that way. And then there's a lot of other faces, because we have a really good partnership with Morris College, with a couple of their special ed teachers, and the kids come in and do a little bit of practicum stuff, and also UD especially with Nikki Eisbach, working there now as well. So there's a lot of kiddos that way, but it's good. It's a good vibe. We kind of utilize those individuals as they come in to try to obviously help work with our kids as much as possible. So, and the price is right, so can't beat that piece as well. So that's it for me.
Anything from Mr. Hart?
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to Mr. Siriani.
Number one was basically what Mr. Wilgenbush, Mrs. Schultz, and Ms. Arner Powers just went through with the Star 360. So, as the year goes and then the next year, we'll have more updates on that. Number two, just end of the semester, which finished last week for the high school and junior high, and this week now started the new semester. So, the junior high was scheduled to go tomorrow to Chestnut Mountain. However, we have postponed that already because of what Mother Nature is sending our way. So I think we got February 8th right now penciled in as their makeup date to go back to Chestnut for that. And the third one is probably the biggest one, an update on biology. So this first semester, we had utilized a company called Elevate to provide distance learning for biology in the absence of an actual biology teacher here in the building. A lot of reasons why, but we have pulled the plug on the Elevate program. Last Thursday, the end of the semester was our last day with utilizing that for biology. Some of it was due to the Elevate side of things, some of it had to do with students, and just the overall student they're not in the right frame of mind to do online distance learning especially after the last 2 years. You saw that very quickly. There was some kids there was shut down almost immediately, and so we made it through the first semester. Mr. Harbaugh has graciously agreed to begin the semester, and so we have modified our biology classes so that they all meet in the morning, and Mr. Harbaugh is gonna be the biology teacher in those classes for the near future. Still actively pursuing hiring somebody for that position, but we feel much better having Mr. Harbaugh, even though he is not a biology person by trade, but still a science person. So having that person with that background and teaching experience, after just 2 days, already seen a difference when I popped into that classroom, that the kids are engaged and they are back thinking like scientists. So that was good to see. The bad part with Elevate was they wouldn't simply cut it off at the semester and then refund us for the second semester. They would give us a credit for the second semester. So we took advantage of that. They have some other classes that they offer that are not typical traditional required courses. And so looking at their list of courses, we put some feelers out to students. We are now offering 2 sections of sign language and a section of computer applications. So we have 3 sections, which is still using what we had paid for, but we now have, I believe it's 11 kids that are taking sign language and 3 kids that are taking a computer applications course. So knock on wood, so far that has gotten off to a good start this semester, and we'll keep monitoring that, but that's kind of the status where we're at with distance learning, so.
Darren,
Yes.
now with Brendan just retiring, and he took early retirement, I assume, that doesn't affect him with the TSR like it would if he was IMRF? So he can come back?
The state of Illinois has rescinded that within the last couple of years because of teacher shortages. You can retire and the next day you can sign on to be, you can return to that position for that matter. Yep, so thankfully the state has.
But it isn't gonna affect him on his retirement at all? Cause I know with IMRF, if you take early, you can't work at all. And if you go on with enough time, you have to have so long of separation, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna adversely affect him.
Used to be, not any longer.
It took enough strong arming to get him to agree to do biology. If it was gonna affect his retirement, you're certainly.
I won't talk about all of the unwritten pieces to this agreement. It's been good, and he enjoys it yet, and, we'll utilize him as long as we have to.
Pass along our appreciation.
Yes,
I will
please.
do that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Darren.
You're welcome.
Moving on to Mr. Cox.
So last spring, when Grover and I sat down with Helm and talked about putting new boilers in, and they gave us the timeline, it wasn't gonna be an issue at all. And when one of the boilers fell off the truck, it became a little bit of an issue, but they were able to get it in this fall. We were able to operate with one boiler for enough time until the second one that we refused to use the broken one or to have them set that up, we don't want a broken one. So both boilers are in, they're working, we got that taken care of, but there's quite a backstory to it if you want Grover to give it. He's probably got a better version than I do for this family show. Grover also had a walkthrough with John Wilson from Gallagher Bassett, our insurance company, and everything is in good working order with our insurance company, so that's good. They will cover us for another year at least, so things are good there. A little bit of good luck on the transportation side. I talked to you, I think last month, about the 4 buses that we have coming off a lease, and we said we were going to continue to lease 2 and purchase 2. Well, shortly after that, Scales Mountain decided that they were going to get rid of a couple of their buses that were about the same age as the ones that we were leasing, and we're gonna save about $50,000 per bus purchasing from Scales Mountain. So Jeff and Mike went up to Scales Mountain, inspected them, made sure that they had the right, you know, Geigenflugels and rocker sprockets and whatever else that they like our buses to have, and came back and were smiling ear to ear and said, we just saved about $100,000. So that's fantastic news. So, after the school year, we'll be purchasing those 2 buses from Scales Mountain instead of purchasing the 2 that are coming off of lease for us. So that's good. And, the biannual inspection is happening as we speak. About half of our buses have been inspected and are in good working order, and the rest of them will continue to go down to Lanark to be inspected. Today, on my side of things, and my apologies, I didn't have a report in there. I was a little under the weather last week, so I didn't give anything to Angie to put in there. But today, Darren and Grover and I met with Scott Krieg, who is our new project manager from Sostrom. Brandon Keltner, who we worked with all the way through phase 1, we had a great relationship with and really enjoyed working with him. He came in just prior to the holidays. I think kids were out of school, but we were still around. And he called me and said, hey, you're around, I gotta talk to you. Sure, yeah, come on in. And he walked into the office, and he turned around and walked back out. I said, what the heck's going on? And he came back, and he turned back around and walked out again. Like, what is wrong with this guy? And he was really shook up to tell us that he had taken a job with a different company and wasn't gonna be able to work with us on phase 2. I mean, literally to tears. So, I mean, that's the kind of quality person that you wanna work with when we, you know, go out to bid on things and that. You never know, but he always gave us a really good feeling working with him, and that's why. Like, he's said all the right things and said, you know, if you have any issues, call me. If you have, you know, the new people that are working need to ask questions. But he's moved on. So we met with Scott today. Seems like a great guy, and he was actually above Brandon at Sostrom. He was one of the, what was his title there? And I can't remember.
I think he is the project manager supervisor or something along those lines.
Something like that. So one of the big wigs has got to get back in the weeds with us now. So, I mean, we got a really good feeling. Grover and I walked out back with him and slapped around in the mud, and it seems like he knows what he's talking about. So, we were a little nervous at the timeline. I was bragging about the timeline last month to you guys and with the change. I was a little bit nervous about that, but Scott told us March 1st, unless Mother Nature really, you know,
He says February would have to be
horrible.
unbelievable for
Yeah,
that to
he
change.
said February is gonna have to be really bad for us not to be able to start March 1st. And they really wanna start that because I think April 7th is when the prefab building starts coming in, so they need that. They need a month to get the foundation done, and he's all about getting going in April on that building, so that's good. The timeline, still works for them, and we had a good conversation with him, so feel good about where we're at with that. So, appreciate everyone making the change tonight. You know, yesterday looked awful. I was ready to cancel school tomorrow yesterday, and the longer we go today, it looks like it's getting a little better, so. Wes, so we have a group text with Jeff and Grover and Wes and Darren and Nate and I, and nobody even listens to Wes anymore, cause
It's
Wes
fine.
thinks Wes always says it's fine, and I won't say who, but one of us always says cancel, so they're the outliers. We throw both of their votes out, and we listen to the other 4. So we'll see, after the meeting, we're gonna get together and take a look at what things look like. If we knew, I'd tell everyone so people know. We like to let people know the night before, but we'll take a look again tonight. Looks like it's getting a little better, but we'll see.
Anything for Mr. Collins? I just had a quick question in regards to food service and
Yeah.
cost of things, like any big impacts to budget for?
It's not sinking the ship, but it's not a lucrative business right now. So, I mean, and I really, you know, this entity can raise the prices of food and that, but we can only do, I mean, the state only allows us to raise it in tiny little increments. When you see a 30% increase and you can only raise it by 5 or 10 cents, you know, we're not making that money up. Like I said, it's not sinking the ship. I mean, we haven't looked at the budget and said, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to, you know, rob from Peter to pay Paul yet. But, you know, when Jen and Pam did the government order just last week, and usually we got $18,000 from the government to do that. Well, this year we only got 15,000 instead of 18. And that 15,000 doesn't go nearly as far as it did last year. So when you're buying in bulk and you're getting a certain number of pounds of things, and now it's a lot less, you don't feel that today, but when you run out of those commodities sooner, and you're gonna have to start purchasing them. So it's not a big, huge gash all at once, it's little pinpricks all along the way, if that makes sense.
Thank you. All right, moving on to old business, there is none. Anything anybody wanted to bring up? All right, moving on to new business. 6.1 is informational regarding the school calendar for 2023.
Yeah, so just a quick update for you. Just a little bit different process this year. I met with the union presidents, and we kind of talked about some things on the calendar that we liked and put some ideas out there. And I created with Angie and Lisa, we created 2 drafts of the calendar and kind of looked at that and created a list of 6 or 8 questions that we put out to the staff. So we have those 2 drafts. I think I got 79 staff survey responses about, you know, this calendar has this calendar has this, you know, and the questions were more general. Do you like starting earlier in the month of August or starting later in the month of August? Do you like the spring break or just a couple days at Easter time? So we'll take those responses then and kind of play with those 2 drafts and then put them out to the staff and the community and kind of get a feel for what people like more. There's not gonna, you know, it's not like calendar A is, you know, so completely different from calendar B. It's more kind of minor tweaks. Do you like this or that? Because of the construction, we're not starting way earlier, way late. We're gonna kind of stay with the same time frame, and then when phase 2 is done, then if the surveys show or if the public response shows that they really want something drastically different, that would be more of the next, you know, the 24-25 calendar than the 23-24. So great staff response. Like I said, we'll take that and create it and have a draft to vote on next month. Okay.
All right, moving on to 6.2, statement of economic interest are gonna be due by May 1st, 2023.
That's the little yellow slip that gets mailed to you.
It got a lot longer last year.
Is there any word on when she's gonna get them out to us?
I haven't heard one.
I think they usually come out in early February, if I remember right.
I think it is early
Well, last year I know they were late.
And this year, we were not audited because of that. Everyone got them in on time, so we're trending in the right direction.
Perfect. All right, any other new business? All right, moving on to personnel.
I'll make a motion that we approve the personnel section for the, tonight's agenda.
Second?
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Patrick to approve the personnel as stated on the agenda. Roll call, please.
Foot,
Aye.
Winders,
Aye.
Quinn,
Aye.
Sen,
Aye.
Dahlberg,
Aye.
Luckelholt,
Aye.
All right, so President's Prerogative, just want to thank everybody for all their contributions. And hopefully this weather doesn't form anything of significance and we can have a regular day tomorrow. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Donna to